We are a national organization. We're a political organization in that we have resolutions in state houses across the country. There's 8 states that have passed our resolution. In New Jersey, we have about 12,000 people who signed our petition. Thinks that what we're doing is a good idea. We have 1,000 volunteers in New Jersey. We have about 30 leaders in New Jersey, like Joe Ciccone and myself. We have a paid national staff that directs us with media people and attorneys. And I'm proud to say that we're the first organization of any type that has a signed petition in every legislative district in the country. So I tell you these things to let you know that we are something of a for real enterprise. And we're growing, and we're doing very well. We're succeeding because there's a lot of people excited about what we're doing. And what we're doing is basically using a very elegant and legitimate method by which regular people like us can get together and work through our state legislatures to have significant effect at the federal level. And we can do that in a way that is independent from the federal government. So if you're a person who thinks, hey, I think there are some changes that might need to be made at the federal level, and I don't think the federal government's going to make those changes themselves, then you probably would be interested in what we're doing at Convention of States. Now, I said that we're a legitimate enterprise, and by that I mean it's actually constitutionally prescribed. What we're doing is articulated in Article 5 of the Constitution. And the reason why it's there is because a couple of hundred years ago, when the brilliant founders were putting together a framework for a federal government, the document that came to be known as the Constitution, a couple of them said, we're doing a great job. And let's remember that it was the states who got together to create this. And they created the federal government for a couple of reasons, but essentially it was to serve the states. And a couple of them said, what happens if this thing just starts doing a lot more than we expect it to do? And human nature being what it is, and power tending to aggregate and grow the way that it does, what if it just starts doing a lot more than we intend? So they thought that was a good point. That was primarily George Mason who brought that up. And they agreed. They said, what? We need to figure out a way to be able to ratchet this thing back and check it. So we're all familiar with the phrase balance of checks and balance of power, and we think of that between the 3 branches of the federal government, and that seems to work pretty well. We know all about that. Well, the Constitution also provides for that same concept to be used between the states and the federal government, and that's what we're doing. We're looking to provide that type of balance. So that's kind of the concept of what we're doing, the way that it works, as articulated in Article 5 of the Constitution. And that's why I'm very proud to be a part of this, and I'm very excited about it, because when I say that it's in the Constitution, I'm not just saying, hey, I thought of a good idea, let's give it a try, let's cross our fingers and see if this works. This isn't some politician or think tank or college professor that came up with this. The recipe's there, the tool is there for us to use, and there's a lot of people who are much more scholarly than I am, who've studied this, and said if there was an expectation that this would be used every 10, 20, 50 years as a means of checking the federal government. And many of those people think that part of the reason why our federal government is in the state that it's in is because we have not done this. The way that it works, according to Article 5, is that 2/3 of the states have to agree through resolutions in their state legislatures that they want to get together and have a discussion or a forum, a convention on common application items. So far, 8 states have passed it. We're working hard, guys like Joe Ciccone, others. We're all working hard in New Jersey to have New Jersey be one of those 34 states. The common application items that we have in New Jersey, nationwide, are that we seek to look at ways to restrict federal spending, to restrict federal power and jurisdiction, and we want to consider term limits for federal officials. So another thing that I like about our project is that we haven't said these are the solutions to those things. What we've said is we've identified some significant problems that we don't think the federal government is going to be able to take on, even if they wanted to, on their own. So let's have the states get together and figure out a way to do this. I mean, what could be more democratic than that? So once those 34 states do that, the convention is called, and this is outside of the authority of the federal government. This Constitution calls for the states to be able to do this on their own. And then whatever work product comes out of that then goes back out to the states, and 38 states have to approve it. And it has to be based on one or all of those three application items. And then at that point, what we've done is we've provided an amendment to the Constitution. So I know when I say that, people will say, you know what, everything was sounding good until you said amend the Constitution, because that's a big deal. That's really radical. And I agree. That's absolutely correct. But the response to that is that the trajectory that our country is on, with the $20 trillion and the $100 trillion in unfunded and the 400 federal agencies, that's doing nothing about that. I believe is even more right. So, and again, this is legitimate and constitutionally prescribed. So that's pretty much it. I'm, as I think you may be able to tell, I'm very excited and proud to be part of this. I think it's very significant, and all the people in our group, I think, feel the same way. So that's the overview, and if you gentlemen have any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
You need more Mark Levin's in the world, because he's pushing all the time.
Mark Levin is a big advocate. In fact, his book, that's how I got involved in this. I have my oldest son gave me a copy of his book, The Liberty Amendments, and that book is all about what the amendments that Mr. Levin suggests be considered at a convention of states. Yeah.
How many members do you have in the state of New Jersey?
I'm sorry?
How many members do you have in the state of New Jersey?
As far as members of the legislature who advocate for us, or volunteers?
How about both?
Okay.
Or both.
We have 12,000 people in New Jersey who signed our petition, and I'm gonna ask you gentlemen if you agree to do that tonight for us. And I'll mention that those petitions are important, because when we're talking to legislators, they all want to know how many people in their district signed a petition. So
Right.
the more that we have, the more worthwhile that is. We have about 1,000 volunteers in New Jersey. We have 30 people like myself and Ciccone who are really pretty engaged and spending some time on this. New Jersey is a blue state, and in order for us to get to 34, a couple of the blue states are going. It seems to be much more naturally attractive to Republicans than it does to Democrats. It's a longer conversation with Democrats. But at the same time, when we talk to them, because of, I think there's just something of the times where there's a move towards some more conservative things. We see that nationally, but really what we're talking about is, hey, we're just looking to talk about restraining federal spending, federal power and jurisdiction, and consideration of term limits. It's very difficult to take a real opposite position to that. So I'm sorry, Joe, did you?
Yeah, I'm the district captain of 11. There's only one district captain in each district as a rule, and there's 58 volunteers so far we have. And I picked up at a fair, Monmouth County Fair, picked up eight of them, at the fair itself. We want to shoot for 100, so we're working on it.
Yeah. Sir.
With 34 states and so many petitions and then a convention to an amendment, what's your realistic time frame if you were to do this?
We're looking to do this in 2017. Yeah. The project has been around for approximately 3 years, and we have 8 states down, and we have this active. I think there's resolutions. It's close to all 50 states where that's actively being considered in their state legislature. In New Jersey, and I'll also tell you that there's really no deadline to an Article 5 convention of states. So, this thing's got a shelf life. If it takes a few years to get to 34 states, that's all right. It doesn't have an expiration date on it. But in New Jersey, we want to do it now because we think that for a few reasons, it's timely in New Jersey, one of which is that the legislature, the entire legislature, is up for election along with the governor in 2017. And we think that transition, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't exactly figured out how, but I think there's got to be opportunity for us with all of that activity going on. Yes, sir.
In speaking with us, what's your hope or expectations in speaking with us?
Well, my expectation is that you would advocate this, that you would think that it's a good idea to the extent that you might be willing to help us, okay? I got a business to run all day, you know, and we've got guys like me, I have an insurance agency. We've got physicians, retired guys, engineers, contractors, you know, with the butcher baker, the candlestick maker, you know, and it's pretty cool. So, you know, Joe can talk about the different things that we do. We have media people, we have computer people, we have a guy who's a retired English professor who does the emails and writes all the stuff that goes out to different groups, organization, and media. So, you know, Joe was. We were talking, chatting before, and he's like, Dan, you know, I'm really not good at this, and it's good that you do. You know, there's a role for you should you be interested.
I guess I'd like to answer that a little
Yeah,
bit.
so go ahead, Joe.
Is that the ultimate goal is to get our legislators to support the resolutions we have, ACR 84 and SCR 42. Senator Beck is pretty much in alignment. We met with her, and Dan was talking to her, and she says, I can't see why any Republican legislator wouldn't vote for it, you know, wouldn't support it and all that. So that's the ultimate. We got to get them to support it. The way you do it, one way of doing it is you get petition signed, and you kind of like hand it to them to see how many, you know, people support it in our district. We have 469 in our district right now. Dan feels that we need 1,000 or more, and I'm working on that. That's my job. And I met with Downey and hoteling and all that, so they're tough.
Would you use small words?
That's right.
Last question, any words?
Yes, sir.
Remember, you're being recorded.
You were being
That's being
recorded.
recorded.
I've told that to his face.
How do you propose to select the delegates to the
They're tough.
convention?
They don't answer my emails or anything.
The question is, how do you propose to
How do you
select the
propose to
delegates?
select the delegates?
That gets determined by the state's legislature. It's not articulated in Article 5. It's expected to be left up to the state's legislature. So New Jersey could say, we're going to send Joe Ciccone. Or they could say, we're going to send 4 different people. But each of the states gets 1 vote at the convention.
If you have questions, forward them to me, and I'll get them to Joe and Dave.
I have some handouts, maybe at the end when
We have some
everybody's all done.
material.
I just
We'll
hand that
leave the
stuff out. Is
petitions.
that
If you'd
okay?
be good enough to sign them, I'd appreciate that. If you think that this is a good idea.
And petitions to
Thank you
sign.
very much
Yeah,
for your
thank you.
time and attention, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna try and do 90 minutes.